So some general, there we go. We are going to be recording this webinar. So if you wish not to be seen, please by all means turn off your camera. Please keep your microphone muted for the duration of the presentation. We will have time at the end of the presentation for questions. So in saying that, if you can please just type in the chat box the word question at the beginning of your sentence, and then what you wish to ask us, please do so, and then we'll answer them in a bit of an open forum at the end. We hope you really enjoy the webinar, and we do have a special surprise for you at the end of it as well. So please stay tuned, and yeah, we hope you enjoy. A little bit of our program. So obviously an introduction from myself. I'm going to speak to Aspire, who we are and what our why is. Then going to go into a bit of a platform demonstration around how you explore the resources, what our dashboard looks like, how we list our resources as well. And then from there, my colleague Huxley is going to talk to how we match resources, the transacting and the benefits that lay there as well. Huxley will also talk to how we optimize the platform's use and an additional tier or an enterprise sort of level service we have in Aspire Plus. We'll then have some real life case studies and examples to lean on. Then we'll have our time for our open forum and Q&A, and of course a bit of a close and a little opportunity at the end as well. So the people we have on the call at the moment are Cameron McKenzie, our fearless leader and CEO. If you look down to the right-hand corner, there's a QR code there for his LinkedIn profile. So by all means, grab your phone out. And if you want to connect him with Cameron, please do so. Cam's been at the helm since about 2019. We've been around since way before then, in about 2014, so for about 10 years, and founded by CSIRO and Data61. But Cameron took over 4 years, and he's been really pioneering in building the business domestically, growing it internationally, building out our offering, our suite, really developing the product as well. And he's brought on a whole wealth of knowledge in regard to our team that are currently with us now. So yeah, Cam's on board today, and he's going to be answering some questions for us later. It's myself. So I look after the partnerships and business development section of the business, and you have an extensive background in operations and SaaS. Again, if you wish to connect in, just scan the QR code. And then we have Huxley. So Huxley will be my co-presenter today. So Huxley Peckham is our business development manager and project manager. So he's leading up a whole heap of exciting projects, which I'll let him allude to later. But yeah, very, very progressive, very cutting edge. We tend to look after more of the Queensland demographic of business development, whereas Cameron's looking after some of the other country, and we have some business development staff that look after different states as well. So getting into it, Aspire, we're a business tool and marketplace for the circular economy. But where did we come from? So it's probably best articulated not by me, but by a video. Keep in mind this was 2019, so it's going back a little bit retrospectively.
Well, it was about 2014 when we were hearing from businesses that they were really wanting to reduce their costs, and waste was becoming an increasing cost. Aspire stands for a system for processing information and resource exchange. And the resource exchange part is really the critical element of the software. So the Aspire concept came through some original discussions with CSIRO about the potential software capability that they had. There was nothing like it on the market. We knew that we wanted to have some record of what sort of waste businesses had, and trying to divert it from landfill, we thought maybe someone could use that as an input to their business.
Nothing at all going to landfill. Look, I've got a personal goal that anything that gets uploaded into Aspire, it's not going to the ground. Definitely find someone to take it. That's not a problem. There's someone out there. It's just about getting the network big enough and get the councils on board. So these businesses, we can make these matters. That's what Aspire, then value the councils, to business, to everyone. So that's what it's all about.
Businesses are much more conscious about the raw materials that they're putting into their product, and thinking about, well, do we need to pay for virgin materials, or could we use an alternative? So a lot of innovations going into product and looking at what they could actually reuse either from their own business or from another business.
You know, this got a chance to change the world. You know, Start off in Victoria, it's Victoria May, which is perfect. It can start little clusters in other states as it expands, and then we've had interest from overseas, taking it there. But you know, number one at the moment is just looking after home, getting it refined and getting it perfect for Victoria.
So as you can see, we've come from very humble beginnings. To think that that was only about 4 years ago to where we've grown now is astronomical. So we now are sitting in a much stronger position. We have a large cohort of LGAs. We have federal government bodies. We've got large conglomerates. We've got some stuff going on within universities as well. So yeah, there's a whole plethora of different things happening at various levels. I guess one of the main things we get asked a lot is what is our why we exist and why we're here. And I think it's pretty rudimentary when you talk about, you know, we want to obviously, one, save the planet, two, we want to make sure we're doing a sound thing by the environment, but three, we want to also look after specifically SMEs, but business in general. So that comes by obviously, you know, diverting landfill, by making sure we're reducing our carbon emissions and being really cognizant of what we're doing in our business practices. So I guess again, to articulate it in a much better way, I'll play a short video for you.
We live in a world of endless consumption, of make, take, and throw away. But the time has come to rethink the process. Aspire is giving businesses a new way to solve their issues with waste. We've pioneered innovative software to create an online marketplace that trades waste as a resource. It's a matching service designed for businesses to exchange or purchase resources that would otherwise be discarded, because one business's trash can be another's treasure. Aspire's online platform sets businesses of any scale on the path to a circular economy and unlocks ways to save costs on waste disposal and even earn revenue from selling existing waste. The platform also helps to create new supply chains, connect businesses, build innovative solutions for reuse and recycling, and reduce the environmental impact of waste disposal. Aspire's matchmaking algorithm has connected hundreds of businesses to reuse, recycle, rethink, and repurpose their waste, creating cost savings, resolving issues surrounding waste, and diverting resources destined for landfill. Aspire, empowering businesses to exchange waste as a resource. We live in a world of...
So as you can see, we have become a lot more sophisticated, and to sort of reiterate how we've empowered businesses to exchange waste as a resource, here are our current sort of numbers around over 3,000 active businesses are on board with Aspire and using our platform. There's a $3.5 million plus savings for businesses. So we can articulate that a little bit later, in that there's, you know, cost savings as well as revenue earned. Over 200 kilotons of resources have been exchanged on the platform as well. And then 230 kiloton of CO2 avoided emissions, which is all ISO verified as well. So we've got some really sophisticated reporting around that, that again, Huxley will allude to a little bit later in the presentation. So I guess, what now? As a wise man once said, who we thought was our CEO, but he did find it from the AU National Waste Report, a simple 5% shift in circular economy principles could equate to about a $24 billion growth in the economy annually. And that is for Australia only. So that's a domestic figure that we're talking to. This is what we do in a very, very simple diagram. So we're B2B resource exchange, of course, and then Aspire sitting in the middle, and then process innovation. So we're all about working within a space where we're facilitating change. We're also very innovative in what we do with resources. We're making sure that they're matching, they're being reutilized, and that businesses obviously are forming those long-standing relationships that continue to then prosper and grow. So that's sort of the crux of who we are and what we do. This is what our dashboard looks like in a simple overview. So as when you come into the platform, you'll be, greeted with the Aspire Plus in the top left-hand corner, which Huxley can talk to a little bit later. You'll have your CO2 emission savings there. You can toggle between the total carbon emission saving and also the other savings in which you've got embodied carbon and transportation. You can go down to your revenue, so you can start to look at the revenue demand versus the revenue supply, and then you can look at the earnings and savings within each of those as well. So obviously the cost avoidance, the opportunity cost there, and then the revenue earned from either selling the goods or earning it elsewhere. You've got your resources exchange, so you can start to have a look at how many resources you've exchanged in a current time, and you can look at the diverted landfill and tonnage as well. So this is a really popular dashboard, obviously, to just tap into and look at any point in time. It's live. We have a lot of users that actually will have this up in their head office, so they'll have this as a running tally, and it's a really nice way to have a bit of healthy competition in the office to see what you're saving from CO2, landfill, and so on perspective. So really, really user-friendly dashboard. The next part of the platform is where you can set your interest. So you can go in, pick which resources you're interested in, then dropping it down into subcategories and start to get really refined on what you're looking for, whether it's procuring, supplying, whatever it may be. You can start to then pick those interests. The premise for doing this, of course, is then you'll get notified as to when those resources are within the platform. So you can list your resource, of course. So you may put in, say, your PET pellets. We can then go down to the subcategories and start to filter that right through. And then you'll see that it's added into the resource profile there. Once it's in the resource profile, of course, you'll be notified if anyone makes an offer or is interested. And there's also a filter component on the left-hand side. In regard to actually exploring resources, very, very similar, of course. So you can see as you scroll through, they've got images there, they've got the actual quantity, they've got if it's of a cost or if it's free. On the left-hand side, you've got a filter component, so you can go through and filter by location or type, which is really, really helpful as well. There's also the high demand toggle that sits at the very top here, which you can see now. So you can see which high demand resources are there according to what you're looking for. All right, so now I'm going to hand over to my colleague Huxley, and he's going to talk a little bit to the marketing reporting, Aspire Plus, and all things SaaS.
Thank you very much, Niels, for that introduction. And I look forward to talking through the other aspects of this. So as you can see here, there's two main elements that we're looking at. That is the marketplace, which is where you can browse and explore for different resources in your area. And then you've got the reporting features that then allow you to showcase your impact. We could change the next slide. So these are some examples of the resources that are being exchanged. We support over 200 different types of commodities. And these are some that we see are quite popular, everything from furniture to paper, cardboard, different types of wood products, even to sawdust and offcuts from these. And a number of other elements from there. So in essence, what we see is a sort of a circular approach where we're building this circular flow between producers, community, and education. And at the heart of this is your local government authorities. And so what we look at is a sort of a three-pronged approach, and we want to bring everyone together in this. So we can look now at the reporting side. Particularly the product itself is called Aspire Plus, which looks at making your business more carbon smart. So in essence, it's a carbon avoidance calculator for sustainability focused businesses. This automatically calculates, certifies, and communicates ISO verified CO2 emissions and savings from the greater utilization of your resources, boosting your competitive edge through this enhanced lifecycle management process. So this is something that allows you to have visibility and particularly we can talk more about in the next few slides, where you're able to upload maybe existing transactions that may not have been traded on the marketplace, but you might be doing things internally. So what are the benefits here? You can calculate your business's scope 3 carbon emissions savings, which is particularly of interest at the moment. You can generate a monthly and yearly impact certificates and reports. This then allows you to communicate your impact and your commitment to this impact with also provides a tailored B Corp asset pack, so you can use this however you see fit. As you're doing this, obviously you'll be able to start benchmarking your own organization's scope 3 emissions and waste reduction targets, so you can start to see how you're working towards that, and obviously measuring the impact from each of your activities that might contribute to the circular economy. These include reuse, repurposing, and recycling your resources, often in just a few clicks. So it's very straightforward, and we've verified this using a number of ISO verification standards for all of these 200 resources. And so this really allows you to measure the impact of both past projects and monitor live success over time. So this is what the Aspire Plus product looks like. You have your dashboard here that allows you to report straight out of this, and you can upload your data into this using our template. So for past projects and internal recycling initiatives you might be running, you can upload that data straight into here. This is an example of what one of the reports looks like, and this gives you an overview of all of the data that you'll need to provide. So as an example of the impact here, we have a particular council, Sunshine Coast, who is over the last year saved their own own ecosystem at least almost $700,000 in revenues, so disposal cost savings, and then that's across 260 resource exchanges. And then just in a 3-month period, that was almost about just over $380,000 in savings, leading up to the end of financial year, where we really drove quite a lot of activity. So what was the sort of transactions? What was the exchanges that were happening there? Well, this particular transaction here, we did a case study on, which shows that in one transaction of road tailings that were pulled up out of the ground, out of a road that was being pulled out, we were able to repurpose that and connect with another project on the other side of the region, where we were able to then use it within building a gravel road. So the Sunshine Coast Council spearheaded this and saved them around $75,000 both in disposal and procurement costs. So the disposal cost would have been significant to dump this amount. And as an example, we calculated in this one transaction, they actually were able to save 2.4 million kilograms of carbon emission savings, so CO2, which is about the same as taking over 1,200 cars off the road for a year. So it's pretty significant stuff. And so here's some other examples here. We have the plastics recycling programs, which help empower the family-owned businesses to participate in plastics recycling economy, which is quite an impressive program. And we also do participate with a number of different pallet exchanges, and that's quite a large amount of exchange that happens on the platform as well. And particularly in this area, we've helped save a lot of money for businesses and actually generate revenue for them as well. So let's go circular. It makes sense. right. I'll leave it to you, Nils, and you can take over from here.
Thank you, Hugs. Yeah, so as you can see, the real life examples of what we've been able to achieve in just such a short time is really encouraging and really exciting. So we're looking to obviously continue to do that, and we're having a huge amount of large enterprise and international business wanting to come on board. So it's only going to grow in the sheer volume of resources that are transacting. And so what we're wanting to do with everyone that's on the call today, if you are a large enterprise, there is an annual enterprise subscription of up to 25% that could be discounted for a 5-year commitment. And for smaller businesses, or for businesses that are willing to participate in their LGA catchment, then there could be a fairly substantial discount, or completely free if you do fall in your LGA that may already be a member. So we'd love to obviously chat further and to speak with you. If you would like to scan the QR code, there's a 7-day trial there available as well. So you can utilize that and explore the platform, see what you think, and obviously give us some feedback as to whether you'd like to come on board and what you think we're doing right or wrong. In regards to the next part of the webinar, we sort of sped through today. We didn't want to do all the talking. So please, hopefully there's some questions there that you've asked us, and we'll go through a bit of a Q&A. This is where we're going to bring Cameron McKenzie, our CEO, in. So he's very knowledgeable, guys. So please, by all means, ask some questions. Feel free to unmute if you like and chat away.
Thanks, Niels. Thanks, Huxley. Thanks for a great presentation and showing a little bit about how to master sort of Aspire and some of the key elements that make it important for businesses to transact. Do you want to just go back a couple of slides to the 7-day free trial, Niels, and I'll just talk a little bit about that. So basically what we've sort of done in the platform recently is added a 7-day free trial for any businesses that want to try Aspire. And with that, what you need to do is just, obviously, as Aspire is a B2B platform, you need to enter your ABN off the back of that. You get to select what type of subscription that you wish, and from there you'll go through and be able to trial the platform for 7 days to see how you go, see how you like it. You can browse the platform, you can do what you wish off the back of it. Again, you can make offers, you can do all types of different things on the platform. It's exactly like if you were subscribed to the organisation. So feel free to jump in, and have a bit of a look. QR code is there. Just got a question there from Nick. What makes a user an active user? So what we sort of do with that, and what we sort of how we categorise that, is someone who's logged in probably for the last 6 months. So we've got there's a different sort of category regarding higher, really like super active, or like we call them Aspire champions, that log in, almost every day or once every 3 months. But again, that's the sort of difference between it. One of the key sort of things with the platform, sort of makes it exciting, is when you get a match or you list the resource to say, I've got, 15, 20 pallets or whatever off the back of it. When you actually upload those resources in the platform, the platform's actually really active. So what it does, it goes and notifies the people on the demand side who have listed it as a resource to take it off the platform. So what that does, it's not sit there necessarily just a passive, it's the opposite. It's the opposite of passive. So it really activates the ecosystem and gets people on board. And that's what it's all about, trying to make these businesses connect and be more sustainable, and also to think a little bit outside the box when it comes to resources exchanged. Yep. I've got another question here from Rob. Would love to hear about the food waste use case. What I'll do, we've got a couple of organic, we call them organic sort of exchanges in the platform. But what I'll do is we'll just go back a few slides to slide 30, and I'll let sort of Huxley talk a little bit more about one of those. We actually haven't got an organic one, have we? That's all right. Sort of case study that we've got. So I'll give an example of an organics exchange we had. So we had a business in the west of Victoria down here that was spending about $8,000 a month sending perfectly good fresh produce to landfill. It was like what you'd call ugly fruit, little bit too big, out of scope for your Coles and Woolies and Audis and all those type of people. And basically what they did is they came onto the platform, they listed those resources on the platform, and we itemised it to a real localised solution. And we end up reducing the waste disposal cost from about $8,000 down to about $1,000. So, that was a big sort of uptick in their business and what they did as an organisation. And one of the most important things I think that was really quite exciting is basically they actually, one of the biggest exchanges or one of the biggest takers of their product was a business that was probably less than 5 kilometres down the road. The business owners had known themselves for a long time, never thought they could actually connect and work together on this sort of aspect. And basically, from those connections or actually meeting on Aspire, that sort of kicked off that sort of that difference in the business and their behaviour, and they actually started transacting, so it was really good. Some of it out of that business went to an organisation that makes meals for disadvantaged Australians, so that was a really, really good, really big plus. We really liked that. Some of it went to for composting, and some of it went to a pig farm. But end of the day, they had a central location where everyone could pick up those resources and take them away and use them for their own use. So end of the day, it saved them quite a significant amount of money in that exchange. So I've got a couple of questions here. Is it easy and simple to use for small business? Well, I've been running a small business majority of my life. I find it pretty easy, but I've been staring at the platform for a long time. But what we sort of find too is probably about 40 to 50% of the businesses on the platform are in that micro SME sort of landscape. Okay, so probably anything from under sort of 20 employees. We find them really, really beneficial from using the platform because what we also do is we also tick on the drivers and what's the value proposition for the smaller businesses. As we sort of spoke about earlier, we've got the ISO verification in the carbon emission savings. What we find is majority of the smaller businesses, they don't necessarily, it's a nice to have, but it's not one of their big drivers. But what the smaller businesses do, they look at it as for those waste disposal costs and in different ways that they can actually, save on their business or get sustainable procurement or list resources, that they might be paying a lot of money to get rid of. So, we find it's quite easy. We get that's majority or a lot of our users that use it. But one of the beneficial things that we do is we actually work, and we've got a mobile application. So instead of purely working on a desktop version of it, businesses can use a tablet, ISO or Android or whatever you wish, and they can upload the application and they can use it so they can walk around the yard instead of having to take photos and do on the flip side. So so it's sort of what we try to do is trying to make the platform as easy as possible for businesses to use. And as you could sort of see from a few of the earlier examples that the team did, they could show you how easy it was to sort of upload a resource or to transact. It's actually quite simple, and that's one of the reasons why we made it as easy as possible. I've got another question here from Nick. Do listings expire? How long is the average listing advertised? What percentage of material is unable to find a new home? There's 3 questions there, not one, but it's all good. I'll pick away at all of them. Does a listing expire? Yes, it does, but it's purely up to the person or the individual who lists that item. So one of the cool things about Aspire, or one of the features is, like we know today's Wednesday, and we know we might know by next Wednesday that we might have a resource that's ready to be picked up, or it might be in a volume big enough to create that value for the person in the demand side of it. So off the back of that, I can list the resource on the platform today, but say it's going to be ready in a week and ready in a week, and it's going to be on the platform for 2 weeks. So it allows that logistics sort of side of the business to transact. So we find that really, really important. You can actually list it 2 years into the future if you wish. You can list it on that day, but it's up to yourself. What we're trying to do is facilitate the exchange and give businesses enough time to chat and follow up emails and notifications to make sure that they're both happy with the exchange. How long is the average listing advertised? It depends. It really depends on several items. Where sort of it's a bit difficult to be in control of that, but basically businesses that can go in, they can extend that expiry date, or they can shorten it, or they can take it off the platform as they wish. We've got people, we've got resources that have been on the, that they have on the platform as a constant, right? So it's constantly there. They put it on, they can have a resource on for a week and they can relist it. So it's a monthly transaction. So that item's also come up too, or a monthly resource that gets listed. So again, it all sort of varies when it comes around what the businesses list or what the market dynamics of what they're looking for with that. And off the back of that, what percentage of materials unable to find a new home? Again, that's a very, like, I couldn't give you a percentage off, like a fixed percentage, because a lot of things will change. Like we get someone who'll put, concrete on in, the middle of, halfway between here and Sydney, right, in the middle of nowhere. So those resources won't exchange because it's, it's too far out, or it might be a small volume. But it's all up to market dynamics. We find pretty much a home for the majority of things that go on the platform, and we find a match for someone to take it. But again, to make them transact is a different sort of story again, and that's market dynamics. So it's hard to control those aspects of it. But what we find is, we've done 20. We did last financial year. We did over 200,000 tonnes of resources exchanged, and that's just not, 2 or 3, 50,000 tonnes. That's a lot of little ones as well. So we find a lot of resources do get exchanged. We've also had, I think since our conception, we've had over 30,000 transactions on the platform. So it's about 3 years since we went with it, with the new upgraded sort of software that we launched. So again, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a fair bit. You can almost do a high level calculation of how many transactions per day we have there from that. So yeah, so it's a good sort of like environment where we try to help these businesses exchange. We've had some pretty rare exchanges. Like we had a big piece of like a 2-ton was a cast iron piece of machinery that was about 150 years old exchange on the platform. I was quite excited about that. It went from like an old shed to like a cafe. So they use that for as a like an ornament or something like there in it, which was pretty exciting. And one of the cool things about Aspire too is we can actually measure where the resources go. So we have them go from, say, retail to construction, and we can also measure it back from construction to retail. It's when people upload or when they join Aspire, they add their ABN as well as their ANZIT code and their subdivision. So we can actually tell where the business is and where it's located and where the resources is actually tracking. So when it comes to that analysis of, what's happening to it and where it's going, we can actually, refine that quite tightly and right down to where we need to be, which is good. I've got a question here from Sarah. My question is, how do you ensure that the resources are proper quality? Is there monitoring in place, processes in place, or any other process? So we do. What we do, the whole idea of the platform is to create trust between the buyer and seller. Right, so that's one of the most important things that you do. So when you actually upload a resource, I'm not quite sure if you saw on the video back when we call it a resource passport when you upload a resource. So off the back of that, there's one thing there called a quality scale that we've actually added after some conversation with some users. So, but it's purely subjective. You can actually put, it's high quality, mid quality, or low quality. But what you can do too is you actually upload several photos off the back of it. So you can upload about 3 or 4. And there's also another area where you can upload some supporting documentation. So we've had people add, pictures of the resource on a set of scales as an example. So you can test the weight of it. You can also people have added like MSDS or material safety data sheets to it. So or any QA information that they can add. So they also do that too. So what we want to do is try to give the seller enough information to or encourage them to share enough information for the business on the demand side to take it. So and what we do is we've got someone who monitors the platform, and it does educate the person who's listing the item if there's not enough information on it. One of the other things that we do to sort of help there with the quality or the trust between the buyer and seller is there's actually there's a section there we can add any other further information around the resource. So they can add, it's X by this, it come from this, it went to there. It's been in my shed for a little while. Feel free to come out and have a look. And there's also another chat feature inside the platform too, where you can chat directly with the buyer or seller, the other person you're speaking to. You can also upload documents or PDFs. So if the seller asks for some more information, you can actually do that, and you can sort of send it through the platform. So what we're trying to do is come up with a holistic approach to build trust between both these buyer and seller, both sides of the marketplace. So yeah, so it's a nice sort of synergy that we get. But again, it also comes down to education on how to sell it. So if you have like an example, if you have all the information is very basic, 1 or 2 words, 1 photo, you know, you're probably going to be unlikely to get a good exchange if you've actually filled out the information correctly, to help the businesses, you know, to educate them and show them what the resource actually is. Got a couple more questions from Nick. Looks like he's on fire. Is there an option for a request of interest for materials before listing them officially? So I'm trying to possible resources. Yeah, so no, I wouldn't say there's not, because what we want to try to do is create an open marketplace. But what you do, as we sort of, as sort of Huxley sort of showed us earlier, is you actually put down an interest. So basically you list, so if I'm only after timber products or C&D products, I can list C&D products. So when someone lists it, I'll list any C&D product, I'll get notified. So it's sort of first in, best dressed. That's what we want to do. So we want to create that open marketplace and help them do that. But basically, you know, if here, I hope that answers your question. Nick, feel free to jump in or unmute yourself if you want to get any clarification around that. But yeah, so basically you upload, you list what your resource is, and when someone lists it, you get notified, and you can go from there. But what we want to do is create long-term relationships about these exchanges. And, you know, the whole idea about Aspire is being a subscription-based service is it's all a lot on the reporting and what we need to do off the back of that. Right, so, you know, if you don't exchange in the platform, we can't give you CO2 emission savings, we can't measure your return on investment for using the platform and so forth. So what we want to do is really encourage people to exchange on the platform. And another sort of idea that we've sort of introduced a little while ago off the back of that, I wonder if we've got a slide we can sort of show that. Yeah, do you want to go to slide 18, Niels, and or 16? When it goes to the dash, yeah, this is dashboard or whatever. Yep. So you can see at the top there that we've got a Stripe merchant fee or Stripe merchant gateway on the platform. So we integrated that on the software a little while ago with that. So with that, businesses, if you feel free to sell or buy any item, you can create like a digital wallet in Stripe, and what that'll do is, you know, sort of holds the fees and holds the cost in escrow. So basically, you've got to be happy with the resource first before you can execute and sort of pay that. So yeah, so what we want to do is make sure that, you know, we give the businesses every single option they can to use the platform, and also to give them every option to have a successful trade. Not all businesses use this payment gateway, because a lot of the resources on the platform get given away for free. So yeah, it's pretty hard to use a payment gateway if an item is for free. So yeah, so I'll go to the next question from Nick again. Is there a list of materials by successful transaction that can be shared to see how many will fit with what people are currently advertising? So that's information that we have internally. We don't share it externally, but if you go to slide 18, Niels, is it slide 18? Look, or maybe 19. Yeah, so basically what we have at the top, you might be able to pause it, Niels, but basically we've got there's a banner up the top of the marketplace, which sort of shows what people are interested in. There we go, at the top, and what they're looking for. So when you actually list the resource, it actually goes into a section we have on the platform that we advertise, right? Or it lets you know how many people are looking for that resource on the platform, if that makes sense. So what that does, it's designed there to sort of trigger innovation, and you think about what's in your yard or what's in your business that you might want to get rid of. Yeah, and it could be furniture, it could be organics, it could be whatever, and those constantly fluctuate. So we normally get the top, I think it's 6 resources that it gets changed once a week, and it just goes through and circulates at the top. So it allows people to think about what materials they can actually put on the platform. Yeah, I've got a question here from Hux. When you list the resource, buyers can place interests on the item. Yep. And then they can select and manage potential buyers from there. Yeah, exactly right. So, one of the things that you do is basically, if you list the resource, we've had it before, 10 people might bid on it or place interest, and you get to pick, as a person that you're listing the item, who you want to transact with. And another thing too is they can't actually see who you are, but you can actually see who they are. So what we find with that is, if you've got like a dollar value on it, or you've got a negotiable price on it, it can also start a bidding war. So some people might, offer you more, offer you less. They might offer you money to pick it up. It's all variable, right? So what we want to do, again, that's market dynamics. But what we want to do is, encourage the seller to reuse the platform and to continue to do that. One of the, again, like electrical goods or anything like that, especially if they're working and they're operational, they're normally a hot commodity on the platform. We had an organisation that's with us put some quite expensive stand-up desks on the platform, the electric ones that go up and down when you're at your desk, and basically, they got rid of them for free, and they actually went quite quickly. And we've got different mechanisms to help with that. So we actually did an EDM where we notified everyone in the ecosystem or in that state that these resources were needed, and through that, we made a successful transaction, and that's what it's about, right? So how do we actually advertise, or how do we actually get these people aware that there's a resource there that might suit them? So yeah, having a look at the questions, I think I'm pretty much, here's another one. Sylvia, so back to organic waste, for example, from cafes, end of day leftovers that you can say up there for days, or obviously in short term advertising or taking them off. So again, that's sort of like what we want to do is, obviously organics, they break down, they can smell, they can be quite bad. So basically what you can do is you can put down that, I don't know, some businesses get rid of their organics, every single day or second day, depends if they've got an organic bin, depends where they're situated. But yeah, you can actually list it, and if someone doesn't take it, it's business as usual. But I know up in Sunshine Coast, I think it is, or Noosa, Huxley, you might be able to answer this. There's a good little network up there with what they do regarding organic waste. They've created a little ecosystem where they all sort of share, and we measure the impact off the back of that. But again, sort of getting back to the question, it's up to the business to take it off if they don't get a match, or it's getting stinky, or they want to keep it, or they take it off. They can transact it through the platform. But over to you, Huxley. You can talk a little bit about the network they've got up there in Queensland.
Sure, happy to talk about that. So yeah, there's some really, really good community gardens that are actually forming these sort of networks around this tool. And so what they're using it for is to particularly transact organics, and to create resource streams for compost, so they can keep that compost going. In terms of when it's sort of stayed and it's maybe started to build up a bit, and it might take a few days before something might happen, you can start to, we can start to reach out and try and connect you with businesses that would maybe take it more rapidly. So you've got like some immediate connection lines and inboxes going with businesses, who will be quite quick at grabbing them from you. Maybe one example that I've seen it work really well is within actually a berry farm. And so what they were able to do is essentially they get about 4 tons of berry waste. It's really the berries that weren't originally going to be included in their end product. So it was going to go to landfill. And so what they did as part of their mission was towards sustainability, was actually you gather a lot of this waste and put it into a refrigeration unit, so that over maybe a week it would take for someone to come pick it up, but they would collect quite a few tons in one go. And so what it ended up being used for is that one business would regularly collect that entire lot. Eventually, as soon as it came off the line, they were able to come in there and grab it straight off before it even needed to be held for too long. And they used it actually within their product, which was actually ended up being pet food. And it improved the fiber content of their pet food because they were able to source a local, fresh form of organics waste. So and of this at this point, pretty much next to no cost for them. So it really helped them scale. And as they scaled, they also started to help relay some of that revenue back to the farm. So it actually helped then the farm open up their revenue streams as well. So that was an interesting case study. We'll get some more questions that have come in, so I can let you, Cam, if you want to keep going at it. So
yeah, no problem. Yoni, we've got a question from her, or him, sorry, or her, not quite sure. Yeah, so can community non-for-profit groups join Aspire? Absolutely, they can, or is it just businesses? So the minimum requirement to join Aspire is an ABN, right? It's an ABN to join. So that's the minimum. But what we've got to is depends if the community group is a part of a membership LGA or an LGA committed to using a platform like Aspire. Because if they are, we have community groups that join under their subscription, if that makes sense. So, so what they do is they can create a user under that, especially because some of the community groups are, funded by the local government or a few things like that. It really varies, but fundamentally, the primary or the real only item you need to join Aspire it's actually a couple. You need an email, you need a device, and an ABN. They're probably the minimum requirements for it. Because what we want to do is make sure that the businesses that transact on the platform and use the platform, are B2B. So we want to make sure that when they go onto a site or a business site, they've got business sense in that. So that's the reason why we make it as a minimum of a ABN to use the platform. Got any other questions? Excellent. Over to you, Niels.
All right. Fantastic questions, everyone. Thank you for being so engaging. And Cam obviously is the expert in this field. So yeah, thanks for answering those very extensively, mate. We really appreciate it. To everyone that was on the call, obviously, yeah, we really grateful for your time and showing interest. If you do want to reach out, by all means, scan the QR code here. You can book in directly for a 30-minute meeting with myself, and we can chat further about who we are and what we do, or potentially answer any further questions you may have. Really enjoyed having you all on board and look forward to connecting post this presentation. And thank you for the team, of course, for presenting as well. Hope you all have a lovely afternoon and we'll chat soon.